Hey, Coach A. I met this guy in math class. He wants to join our flag football team.
Cool. Bring him on out. See what he's about.
Yo, what's good, Coach? My name is Devontae, and I played football all throughout high school, and I played Little League. People like that.
Okay. So you're an athlete.
Yeah. When I was in high school, my senior year, I scored 10 rushing touchdowns and 15 receiving touchdowns. So what's good? What can I do for you?
I guess we have to find out. What positions you play?
I was running back and receiver. I played a lot of offense, but I can strap people down too.
Oh, so you play a little bit of defense?
Yeah.
All right. If you want to come try out for defense, go ahead and step out on the field and let me put some receivers on you, see what you got.
Okay, bet. Let's get into it.
A QB. You and the receiver come up with the route. Let's throw on this guy and see what he's got.
Bet.
Ready. Hike.
Expose him! Expose him! It was at this moment he knew. He fucked up.
All right, come on over, man. Let's see. Let's talk about this.
Yo. Like, I know he scored, but that don't happen all the time. He got lucky.
Well, I think, you know what? To the rush line for you.
Well, drop that intro.
Hey.
Yo. Welcome to episode 38 of the Catch Up Podcast, #1 podcast where you feed your curiosity with me, Bryan, Sumardi. And as you can tell by that intro, that little skit, today's guest is Anthony Nguyen, flag football coach, sports athlete, advocate, and
high school football coach, little league football coach.
Boom.
All types of coach.
Let them know. Teach them devils.
Bryan and I, we first met. Am I talking to you or am I talking to the mic, the audience?
It's your first time, Anthony's first time. Say what you want, man. Explain your story. Explain yourself.
Yeah, so I think we first met. We first met when you came out to a flag football practice, and this was for the Filipino Cultural Association at Montgomery College.
Yeah.
And I think you came out for a practice or two, and you wanted to play, and you definitely had experience from high school ball.
Right.
And you came out for a couple practices, and you definitely you had some athleticism. You definitely had some potential to play on the team, but I guess you could commit to it. So that was that, and that was the beginning of the years. Those were early years of me coaching flag football for fun for these clubs and organizations.
Dope. Yeah. So, the real reason why I wanted to bring you on is because I kind of really got to know you at TEDx Bethesda. You were volunteering for the event with me, and you were telling me that you have a interesting story to tell and about your upbringings and how you want to change like the current society of cultural identity. And can we get into that? Like, let me know about your background and how you came up to doing all the things that you do now.
Yeah, when we volunteered at the TEDx events, that was just I like to volunteer and contribute to a lot of different events within the community, whether it's a student organization or a TEDx event, which was something new to me. I've never been to a TEDx talk, so that was first time doing that, and that was a great event, by the way. Just very inspiring to be around and see a lot of different speakers speak, about their craft and things that they're interested and passionate about. Because I think someday for myself, I would like to be a public speaker as well. I mean, I kind of already do that in a very small way.
Another accomplishment.
I speak. I go to conferences for student organizations within the region, and I host workshops where I've spoken at workshops to share some of my experiences. Growing up, playing football, being a sports advocate, some of my experiences in education. That's another thing that I've been passionate about as well. But yeah, so I'm just trying to share my message, my story, my experiences in hopes of inspiring others and getting them to find things that they're passionate about.
So what message is that?
I think, if you find your passion, whatever that may be, once people find their passion, when you love what you do, that's probably the most fulfilling feeling. And to be able to contribute that to individuals or the community around you, I think that's the best way to live. Like that's one of the greatest ways to live.
So without being like super idealistic, what is your passion?
So two of my passions are coaching, like I said, football, and education.
Okay. How did you get into that? Like, did you grow up here? Like, what about your education growing up?
So yeah, I went to public school in Montgomery County my whole life. From elementary, middle to high school. Where I got my first experience getting into football was in 8th grade, actually joining a flag football team for a recreational league in the area. And then I went on to play tackle for Little League. And then I decided to play varsity football at my high school, which is Northwest High School. Shout out, go Jags.
Okay.
What high school did you go to?
I went to Einstein.
Oh, okay. You went to Einstein. Actually, we played Einstein in one of our games. And actually, interestingly enough, I think my first catch in high school was against Einstein.
Nice accomplishment.
Yeah, one of my first. Yeah, it was actually my first catch, and it was on Einstein's football field. And I don't even know if you played at the time or not, but
probably not.
Yeah, that was one of my.
Because you're older than me too.
Yeah,
we played different years. I'm pretty sure.
Right. Yeah. So when I played high school, I started my junior year, and then I played for 2 years, and we ended up winning the state championship, which is probably one of the most.
What year was that?
It was in 05.
05. Okay.
Yeah.
Dope. Like I got into high school at 07. But you were telling me off air too, like another thing that really like made you really interested in like advocating people into sports, kind of similar to my story, which is that when I was growing up at the high school, I'm really big into sports, athletics, and whatnot, but I just never had the frame or stature to excel very well. I knew that. I think I would describe it as I had pretty good self-awareness at a young age. So instead of me pursuing, like driving myself to go harder, go bigger, go stronger, I took a different avenue of approach, and that was to coach. Like I went to training the football athletes who had potential to make it to the collegiates and maybe even the pros, and I helped them get stronger. Basically.
That's cool, man. Yeah, like for me, I wanted to come back to my high school after I graduated to coach, to give back to the kids what I experienced in high school myself. But I ended up coaching at another high school when I got my opportunity in I think 2013, and this was after I coached the flag football teams at these student organizations at Montgomery College and then at University of Maryland. So I also coach a women's team. So aside from the team that you came out to try out for at Montgomery College, which was the Filipino Cultural Association.
That was co-ed. I didn't try to sign for the women's team.
Yeah, and then I coached a women's team at University of Maryland, which was for the Vietnamese Student Association. Okay. So I coached two teams simultaneously, a men's and a women's team.
Yeah,
for several years.
I don't know if you ever noticed this, but I'm pretty sure you do, that you have a very big Asian following, and like at least in the DMV, that we are very big Asian culture, or at least Filipino Vietnamese, and that's what generally majority, I want to say, of the MC football team, Maryland football team, like football team at least.
What is your ethnicity?
I'm Indonesian.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and I'm Vietnamese, and I coach a Filipino team for the Filipino club and organization, but all these organizations are inclusive, and they include everybody. You don't have to be specifically Filipino or Vietnamese to play on these teams.
But it just so happens to be that everyone there is that. And I was doing some research online. Apparently, most of the government in the Philippines, if you are in the Filipino government, you happen to play basketball against each other. That's as a general.
What is it, a league or what?
I don't think it's a league, but then they just keep playing against each other, and they broadcast it.
I know. I mean, the Filipinos are big in basketball, dance, and either nursing or being.
But I've never heard of that being in politics. Like, I'm the national security of treasury and and I'm about to shoot this three in front of your face.
And the funny thing is about this whole me coaching and being a part of these Asian orgs now. Or previously, is that I didn't really have Asian friends in high school.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't. I didn't really roll with Asians. I mean, I was cool with them. You know, they had the cliques or the groups. You know, you would see them at the lunch tables. You know, almost like at any other high school you would see in the county. But you know, I never just got close to them like that. You know, I was cool with some of them, and I knew them here and there. But my circle was, you know, just very diverse and mostly non-Asian, which is interesting and ironic, I think.
So who did you really associate yourself with back in high school?
Well, like I said, when I joined the high school football team, you know, it was very diverse. You know, I had white, black, Spanish, you know, Middle Eastern friends. Well, they're Asian too, but Western Asian. But you know, in terms of Eastern Asian, no, I didn't have too many friends that were Korean, Vietnamese, or Filipino, or Chinese, or you know, things like that.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it was interesting. Yeah, I mean, we had that population at our school, but you know, I rode with the football team, and because the other part is I was the only Asian football player on my football team, on the varsity football team.
Okay.
So that definitely, you know, made me stand out, you know, on the team.
Did you ever have trouble like self-identifying yourself? Because I'll tell you a quick story about me. Like when I was younger, I always surrounded myself with a lot of other Indonesians because that's how my parents kind of raised me. But
Because they like brought you out to like events and stuff like that.
yeah, like my dad works at the embassy as a driver back in the day, and then my mom is just like a caretaker for old people. But for me growing up, I was isolated a lot, so I would be driven to school, go to school, get driven back home, and then on Sundays I was raised Muslim, so they would take me to Sunday school. So that would be legit it.
Oh, so you were in it, like
Yeah,
you were
well-
always around people that were similar to you.
Yeah, but not really. Because Monday through Saturday, I would be with my family at home, and my parents like gave me enough like video games and stimulation at home. Well, they weren't really around, so I didn't know where to go. I didn't have curiosity yet. Like I didn't really get big into the internet. Like I honestly got Facebook after high school, I think. Or
I think yeah, that's when it came out.
my freshman year. Sorry, so I got it in high school.
Was MySpace still around at the time?
Yeah, MySpace was still around, but
Okay.
I never jumped into it.
Right.
But
I think that was more my group
Your
or my
year.
time. And yeah, MySpace is what I first started using. And you know, AOL Instant Messenger
yeah,
and those things.
I remember that. I remember using that a lot. But let me get back to my identity story. Because all I did growing up was like watch TV. I legit thought I was white. Like,
Why?
dead
Why?
ass,
Like, did you watch white shows like Full House or something like that?
like I mean, what I remember watching on TV was just like The Simpsons, just like my cartoons. I forgot what it was called. Sesame Street. Like I would watch these like kid shows.
Yeah.
And like Disney Channel, and I legit thought like I was white, like because I didn't really see color at a young age because my parents never associated color with race and like prejudice type of shit.
So you're just open to everybody essentially.
Yeah,
growing
and
up.
my parents was always sharing stuff with me and my friends. So I would have like a lot of like birthday parties, and it was I just thought people were people. So I never had that cultural identity of like this is who I am and I'm different from everyone else until I think I got into 6th grade. And then that's when I went to middle school. So what happened from there, it turned into I started seeing prejudice because
What do you mean? Like people treated you differently, or they said things to you? Like, did you get bullied, or what do you mean by prejudice?
so what in my area from elementary school to middle school, there was always a bunch of kids that walked home together around my neighborhood. And that's when I asked my mom, like, hey, can I walk home with the other kids? Because I started being curious. And so I started walking home with them. And then as soon as I started walking home with this group of people, I didn't know that it was a lot of gangs in my area. And then that's when I kind of realized other people, like as in teachers and adults, started looking at me different.
Because they thought you associated with those groups.
Right.
Right.
And then the thing was, like, honestly, how it happened was like, we'd always meet up in front of an ice cream truck in front of my elementary school, and then everyone would get ice cream, Big Burst, Wrap Snacks. If you remember that? And I was like, I would just start walking. I'd follow these kids because they'd walk around my neighborhood.
So you never became friends with them, or you never joined one of their groups?
Well, no.
or
So
gangs?
what I did was like, hey, can I walk home with you guys? Like, so innocent. And like, the guys looked at me weird. Like, why would you ever say that? And then they're like, yeah, sure.
And then they just welcomed you in.
Yeah, they kind of just welcomed me in.
So was it a gang or was it a group?
It was just a group of guys at a time.
Oh, okay.
But along the way, we would always like encounter like other neighborhoods.
Right.
Because it would always like walk around the same route, and then people would just break off into like whatever neighborhood that they go to. So sometimes it would be like up to like group of 40 kids. Like
that's
walking together.
a lot. Yeah. No, because we would walk home, but we live in a small townhouse neighborhood, so it was only like 5, 6, 7 of us.
Yeah.
So it was a very small group that we
Definitely,
would walk to
I
and from
want to
school.
say it took us about like 30 minutes to walk home every day. So I don't know in terms of mileage. I want to say walking wise, maybe it's pretty close to 2 to 3 miles home every day. But I mean, being a kid, like I don't care. I mean, we're full of energy.
Right.
So, but that was my beginning story. One of my most like traumatic, I want to say traumatic, but one thing that always resonates in my head, once I got into the 6th grade, one of my reading teachers said I wasn't supposed to make it just because I came from an elementary school.
Make it in terms of like getting a
Succeed.
job.
Yeah, well, more like succeed.
They told you straight up that a teacher said that.
A teacher said that to me.
I could never imagine saying, because at one point I was a 3rd grade teacher, and I could never see myself saying that to a kid. You know, like, I think being practical and realistic is important.
Yeah.
You know, at least for parents and teachers to share that with their students.
Right.
But never crush their dreams and just say you can't do something.
Well, no,
You know?
it was really weird because it was like end of a class at one time, and apparently there was a new elementary school that was being made. I was the 3rd year of that school after it was created, and so like my older 2 years older than me, those kids went through 6th, 7th, 8th grade by themselves. There were no 8th graders, no 7th graders when they were 6th graders.
Yeah.
So my year was the first year we actually had 6th, 7th, 8th at that school, middle school. And so we had 2 feeder schools that generally came from that. It was Oakland Terrace and Highland Elementary School. I came from Highland. And then the other school was like on the other side of kind of town or this area. And those were like the very prestigious kids, like more affluent kids, if you could say.
It wasn't a private school, though.
It wasn't a private school.
Right.
They were both public. But what happened was they were looked differently because my elementary school was more Hispanic, Black.
That's like even like the high schools in the area, you know, like
Yeah.
if you're from Downtown County or Western Montgomery County, you know, each school has a little bit different vibe and stereotype to it.
Right.
Or personality.
And that's where it came in because I slowly realized once I got into like my GT, like the Gifted and Talented program, you remember that? Like once I got into that program into middle school, that's when I started seeing less and less kids from my elementary school succeeding. And they were kind of just dropping back into like the regular classes where I kind of just like stayed and I kind of just became a chameleon. Like one trait I know I generally have is that I kind of just like bother kids or bother other kids.
You don't use that annoying kid that just provoked other kids to
because it's more
serve
like
their emotions.
I hate. I think this is generally I'm learning about myself right now because I hate authority. So when people or I hate, I like to call it political identity. Like if you're born a certain way or you're raised a certain way, you kind of see yourself as different. And I think I'll get to this with you too. It's like your identity doesn't have to be what you do. You can do whatever you want, but people generally don't like you if they can't label you. And that's my biggest advocate as myself. And I was going to ask you, like, how did you feel growing up? And I was going to ask you, like, well, how did you feel about? That's a very long-winded way to get to asking this question. Like, did you ever feel like you had any problems finding your identity because you didn't find people like you back in high school?
Yeah, I think most definitely. I mean, at the time, you don't really notice it. You just like, you roll with your group of friends and that's that. And you just hang out with them and you just, well, from at least our county is very diverse, so you don't really think twice about it when you're growing up. But I think after high school is when I really realized that I didn't really roll with my own kind, so to speak. And I've also thought, why? How come I didn't have Asian friends? And I think part of it was actually, I think I was embarrassed or a little bit shy about being Asian because it wasn't.
Did you know that in high school, or this is hindsight now?
I think actively, in the moments, I did know. Because I didn't know per se, but it was more like I avoided, being categorized as Asian.
Okay.
In terms
it wasn't deemed popular. Or
yeah,
cool.
I mean, I knew I was Vietnamese or I knew I was Asian, but I didn't hate it, but I definitely I shied away and was embarrassed of some of the things.
Right.
So, for example, like in elementary school, when my mom would pack, lunch for me, it would be leftover food from the night before.
Right.
And it was, rice and meat or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And then we would come to lunch, and I feared that kids out smelling my food and thinking
Judging
it was
you.
weird and saying, oh, what is that, or because it wasn't like typical Chinese food either. Sometimes it wasn't just like fried rice or an egg roll. It was food that was.
Speaking about that, what you got? I have my sister-in-law is Vietnamese, so I know a little bit.
What do you mean?
My sister-in-law, my brother's wife is Vietnamese.
Okay.
So growing up, I would go over her house with my brother, and she would make us food. So I was like, if you could describe some of those foods.
Oh, okay. Some of the foods. I mean, I think everyone knows, or for the most part, people know pho.
Yeah.
Not pho, but pho. It's so PHO, but it's pho. It's a beef noodle soup, with very tasty broth, and people like to eat it, either as breakfast or a hangover meal.
Yeah.
Lunch or even dinner sometimes.
Well, so you would have that at lunch in elementary school?
No. I never brought pho to school because it was just too hard. It was a soup and noodles and you had to boil it and stuff like that. But
Right.
I would bring like rice with meat and vegetables that we had from the night before.
Okay.
Whereas when I saw other kids, they had pizza Lunchables or peanut butter jelly sandwiches and Sunny Delights and fruit roll-ups, and I'm just like, I have rice with like chicken or something like that. Which is, it sounds normal now, but at the time, I'm just like, I want to have a pizza Lunchable. I want to have, chicken nuggets from the cafeteria.
You just want to be a part of the group.
Yeah, so I would be really shy about eating it. I would, hold my container and open it up, and scoop out a piece of rice real quick and then eat it, and then shut it so the smell and the aroma wouldn't come around the lunch table in the room.
Oh, wow.
So, like that, I was self-conscious of those things as an elementary school kid.
Right.
So I think, that was part of being embarrassed of, being Asian.
Yeah.
So I didn't realize it much more until my college years and growing up into adulthood, that I didn't embrace my Asianness.
Yeah.
I didn't embrace my Asianness as much as
you got to see more people like you. Too,
yeah.
Growing up.
Yeah. So when I joined those Asian orgs, I was like, oh, these Asians are like me. They like to play sports. They like to watch movies. They like to do everything like any other American person would.
Right.
They're not like fobs, which is a term people use like, fresh off the boat or someone that's new to the country or a foreigner.
Right.
So I mean, I didn't embrace it as much. And like when my parents try to speak to me, when they poke, they're trying not poking, but when they try to pick me up from school, they would speak to me in language, in Vietnamese, and I would just respond in English, even though I could respond in Vietnamese, because I was a little bit shy and embarrassed about that. Yeah.
Interesting. So actually, I think maybe like a year or two ago, I put up a poll on like my Instagram, just saying like, here's two choices. Would you rather be wrong in a group or be right by yourself? Where would you put yourself in that situation?
What do you mean by being wrong and right?
So saying like, if everyone says the sky is green, but if everyone around you said that the sky is green, would you rather be in that group, or would you look outside and be like, no, it's blue?
I think for anyone, it's easy to kind of go along with the crowd because it's because sometimes they're your friends or they're your family members, and you're just like, oh, you know what? Since they're credible sources, I'm gonna believe them, or I'm gonna go with what they're saying.
Yeah.
But I mean, if I saw something that I didn't agree with or I didn't think was right, then of course I would choose, what is right over what is wrong.
Yeah. No. Yeah. I mean, I bring that up because I was generally surprised because it was legit like probably 55-45, but the 55 was they'd rather be wrong in a group. They legit
Why?
wrote that.
Did you get feedback on like why they responded that way?
For me, it was more just like general market research, because afterwards I put up another poll saying, do your actions follow up with your previous decision? And majority said yes, but there was a slight few that said their belief doesn't follow their actual choices.
Okay.
So I just thought that was really interesting to me. And like growing up and then starting this podcast, I like perspectives, and it's very interesting for me to share my perspective as well as help others learn about themselves along with me, because like you're learning about me at the same time I'm learning about you and how you think and how you were growing up.
Right.
Because I've taken this podcast to Seattle, San Diego, New York. And it's really funny how we could do the same thing, whether it's football or just growing up in like school.
Right.
But we have totally different experiences, like regardless of race.
Who do you normally seek to have on these podcasts or to interview?
People who just want to sit down and talk to me, or people who are just open to it. Because a lot of people they're very shy to speak their mind about certain things. And I'm learning to cope with that. And all I want to do is help people who are open to sharing their story have a platform and to share with others.
Right.
Yeah.
That's good. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
No, I appreciate you. And my biggest thing, I wanted to hear what you wanted to do in terms of your future, because we've talked off air again about how you want to grow as a football coach, and like I want to see if we can help you troubleshoot it together, whether it's with me or if anyone else who watches this has ideas to reach out to you, like, hey, I know somebody who could help you with X, Y, and Z type of thing.
So I mean, I think it's also interesting that people dub me as a coach, because I do, that's what I've done a lot of in my recent years. And that's what I also try to identify myself as. But, it's more than just playing sports and just coaching people about sports and winning championships and winning games or losing games even. Like...
It kind of teaches you, like, life lessons.
It does,
sports.
exactly. I was just going to say that. So sports, has a way of teaching you life lessons. And I've learned so much playing, high school football, and then playing flag football, post high school, and in the first early years of college, and then moving into coaching, and that's a big reason why I wanted to coach, because I wanted to teach people that sports can teach you life lessons, and some of those lessons can be anything from putting in the hard work, persevering, resilience, and when you commit to something, how they could develop, and if you have a purpose and a passion for something, it could develop into something more special than that, and for even for people to find out about themselves, and I think sports has a way of doing that, because it pushes you to the very brink.
Yeah.
Football and sports is just very blunt. There's a winner and there's a loser. There's no really in between. There's no gray area, and I think the work that you put in is a reflection of how you are as a person and how you approach life.
One thing that really stood out to me, what you just said, was commitment. It really does teach you commitment, because there's a lot of times where you're going to feel down, and no matter what sport you play, whether you get injured, whether you take a L, or some type of adversity catches you during sports, and it's really common and it's really relatable. And for someone to stick it out and still continue that dream of trying to win a championship or whatnot, that shows volumes and character to me. And then on top of that, I want to say, I was not resilience. I kind of just went in and out of my head just now. Teamwork. That's what I want to get into.
Yeah.
Especially when you work in team sports, it teaches people how to drop their ego. And I'm a big advocate of teaching people how to drop their egos.
Why? In what situations have you experienced people that had a lot of ego?
Well, me personally, like growing up in high school, like I always thought like I'm in it by myself. I didn't think that no one will ever understand me, this and that. And then again, this is why I'm really advocating learning perspectives, and I want people to either like travel in order to like find out situations like this, or just be more open-minded to another person's way of thinking. Because they could be going through the same shit that you are, but you'll never know because you'll never ask or you never want to learn about a certain situation. And what I found with teamwork, I'm going to always like say two things. It's see the world as it is and not what you expect. And the other one is an African proverb is like, if you want to go fast, go alone. And if you want to go far, go together. And the second one really reaches out to me was when I learned business, because I did so much trying to build like my personal training business, and like I can help this one person grow so much strength or build so much athletic ability, but when I helped that one person, it didn't really turn around and give me a lot back, even though I did help that person grow as an individual.
I mean, as a trainer, you didn't get fulfillment out of developing someone and making them better individual mentally and physically?
Well, maybe I said that wrong. It's more, so yeah, personally, I felt the fulfillment, but business-wise, I didn't see it grow as well. So in terms of me growing my business, I needed to kind of spread my attention to more people in order for me to be more successful financially.
All right.
And then how I turned that, I seeked out help. Whether I looked for mentors of other successful trainers in the area, like how do you manage so many clients at the same time be successful, like in terms of business and finance? Because one thing that I'm really good at tunnel vision and just sticking on something. So as you can see now, like I'm very sporadic and my mind is all over the place because I've learned the 80-20 principle of like 80% of success you'll do comes from 20% of the work. And just by starting something, you've opened a whole new avenue or road or lane to a whole, like you just open up your eyes. Because I would, like, as an Asian American as well, I would always get the jokes of like the small eyes type of thing. And I use it to my advantage. I never got made fun of, or I never felt made fun of because, yeah, I have small eyes, but I could focus on little ideas. Like I always twisted it to my advantage, like whether it was previous girlfriends or teachers or person of authority, they always tell me like, why are you such a smart ass? I'm like, I don't try to be. Like, I'm just smart. Like everything I did, every time I said like a comeback, it would always be in a way that made me look good. Okay. But again, it was making me look arrogant, but I was like, that's just my personality because I'm very optimistic. And I want to see what your take on that too is like you're very detail oriented as well, and I feel like that's almost like an Asian trait, to be honest. Generally, that's what I see. It's like what can you work on? What do you think is your next step that you want to work on in your business or your coaching? Stuff like that.
So I've done the coaching thing with the flag football teams, and then once I finished that up, I went into coaching high school football and little league. Yeah. Paid gigs for those. Okay. So I did that for a little while as well, and it was fun. It was fulfilling. To see the culture change within the high school, for example, or to even see small kids, like kindergarten age and elementary kids that I coached. Develop as individuals throughout the course of a season. Yeah. But now at this point, I think the next thing that I want to take a step forward in is, I think still coaching is still going to always be a part of something that I like to do and contribute and bring value to others. But I want to find ways to, do it, whether it's, I'm still trying to figure out what I exactly want to do, whether it's, I know that I always want to coach teams. Yeah. But I want to build a community where, where players are actually experiencing growth, throughout the process.
So speaking on the two like little quotes that I had, could you tell me a story about how important it is to learn teamwork and at the same time learning your own self-awareness as an athlete slash person, or like personal growth that you kind of help develop?
So a story about teamwork and how
like how you taught football and how a certain individual like grew due to football, teamwork, and so forth.
I see. Yeah, so I think one value that I always try to instill in players that I've coached is I have something called a football philosophy, and it's just three
Okay.
things. So I call it football, family, and fun.
Okay.
Right? So I try to instill those things in the teams that I coach because I think those are the three most important aspects in any successful team.
Okay.
And when individuals contribute to those values within the team, they pick up those values themselves.
Right.
Like you said, a lot of players can come in and people always ask, when they join a team, what can I get out of this team?
Right.
Can I be a starting wide receiver? Can I, how many touchdowns can I score? Or can
How
I play
much
quarterback?
attention can I get?
Yeah, even possibly that. They want to contribute to the team, but they also want to see what they can get out of it, individually, and that makes sense. We all want to get something out of something when we're joining and putting our time and effort into it.
Right.
But in terms of the value of family, football, and fun, how that comes into play is, I call our teams family. When we always do the breakdown, we do 1, 2, 3 breakdown. We always say we typically say family.
Okay.
Because I really want to instill the value of family within the players.
Yeah.
And what family means is togetherness, unity. All those cliche terms that you always talk about.
Okay.
Well, for teams. But the truth is, people need to let go of their egos and stop thinking about themselves so much and how they can contribute to the team and what they can offer the team rather than what they can get from the team.
Right. Right.
Yeah. So when you're a family, it doesn't necessarily mean you love everybody on the team. You could dislike someone and still be family.
Right. Yeah. No, I understand that completely. Business too. Like, I mean, I may not like you right now and how you edit my videos, but I mean, you do work for me. I'm like, oh,
Right.
all right. We have that synergy of like, we understand work is work and personal lives are kind of separate.
Yeah. So, so I think family is just accepting and loving each other unconditionally.
Yeah.
Regardless of our differences and our races or ethnicities or whatever. And to achieve that common goal, to put in the work to achieve that common goal, which is to win games, to win championships, and to do what is needed on your part to contribute to the bigger picture, which is the team success.
Yeah. Like speaking on championships, you've gotten the Montgomery College team and the University of Maryland team 2 championships, multiple championships due to this philosophy. Can you talk on that?
Yeah, so I mean, when I coached both teams simultaneously, so the Filipino club men's team at Montgomery College and then the Vietnamese Student Association women's team at University of Maryland, I coached both teams at the same time, and we were in my I think 4 years of coaching. We were able to win 2 championships in 2 different years. So both teams at the same time in 2011, and then again in 2013. So 4 total championships amongst both teams. So 2
Right.
for women's, 2 for men's, and then after I moved on to high school, there's other people that took over those teams, and the success continued.
Yeah.
So it was like a ripple effect.
Yeah, because I was going to say, like, that speaks volumes of just you creating an infrastructure of a philosophy in an organization, and it kind of lived a legacy after you left. And I really want to highlight that, and like I admire that, and I think that's really dope. And I was going to see like what's your next step to growing that, because like you have a certain power in the way that you speak and how you almost like empathize with other people that needs to be shared more, if that makes sense, or if you also believe that.
So your question is, how would I continue to do that?
Well, it wasn't really a question, but it's more like, my question was, what are you going to do next? But it's like, you have a certain skill working with certain individuals to make them drop that ego. And I feel like that's the positivity of negativity, if that makes sense. Because a lot of people see ego and they kind of see it as highlighting themselves, but you're kind of changing it to make it so not just be better by yourself, but be better for others. Like, do something greater than yourself. That's something that's always resonating in back of my head too.
Yeah, that I mean, I think that's one of the biggest things about joining a team or an organization or a business or doing things for with a collective group of people. It's
Right.
about contributing to something greater than yourselves. And if you could find a way to see it that way,
Yeah.
then I think you'll have a greater purpose and and you'll be able to see value not only that you bring to the company but for yourself
Right.
at the end of it, because whatever that purpose may be, as long as you're doing something positive and giving giving something to someone that they can't repay you.
Yeah.
So like for me as a coach, and it's that term you always hear online. I think they say it's like if you give a man a fish, he'll eat for a day,
Yeah.
and if you teach a man a fish, if you teach him how to fish, he can eat for a lifetime.
Yeah.
So I think that's almost how I see like coaching. I'm coaching people because I know and I have experience in the sport. And it's not like they can give me anything in return, really. It's the only thing they can really give me is
Championships.
The only thing,
Give me some clout.
the only thing they can really give me is their time and energy and contributing to the team.
Right.
And that's a big part of a coach. To change that mindset for individuals when they come on the team and how they can contribute to something greater than themselves.
And you truly get that true fulfillment as an individual, just saying that you help others. I think that's the biggest way to feel fulfilled. Like, it's never going to be money, never going to be material things. Or
Contribution. Yeah.
Contribution. You actually put something in the world that you don't have to put effort in, like for yourself, or you don't get like immediate. Like, another thing I also believe in is delayed gratification needs to be spread.
Okay.
And because like everything nowadays,
What do you mean by delayed gratification?
so like
For at least the way that you define it.
yeah, so like social media, like when people post up a certain story post, they want to see the likes, they want to see the followers grow. But for me, it's like I don't really care as long as I affect a certain individual. I remember in 2015 is almost the time where I got really rocky in my previous relationship, and I kind of just started unleashing. Like, I put all my things that were putting me down on social media. Like, I kind of put it all on like posts, and within six to 12 months, I got a lot of DMs coming back to me saying like, yo, I was feeling down during some time, but after watching your post for a long time, it made me like, I forgot the exact words, but it's almost like he was thinking about offing himself. But then,
What do you mean offing himself?
like killing himself?
Oh wow, okay.
And then he was like, yeah, your post really helped me go through some hard times. But I was just like, I didn't mean for those posts to do that. I was just letting out my own demons. And that was my most humblest moment ever, when I got DMs like that. And I was just like, I appreciate you. Like, I appreciate you sharing that with me.
Yeah, I think a lot of people they connect with if you
Adversity.
show yourself vulnerable.
Vulnerable, yeah.
You open up and you show your vulnerable side. A lot of people can connect with it more than you think.
Yeah.
Because everyone has their own story. Everyone has their own setbacks and downfalls and things that they struggle with.
Right.
But then when you put it out there into the world, people read it and they're like, oh, wow, I felt that same way. So, they'll reach out to you, because they can relate to that.
I was going to ask you, do you ever get any of those stories, like, you kind of changed their life through football?
Stories.
No?
I do from time to time. And actually, when I think about it...
See, like, it kind of, like, goes over your head when it happens, like, oh, like, you kind of just shocked.
Yeah. So, actually, there was one player, and I didn't realize, how powerful, like, just coaching or having a team or being a part of something special or greater than yourself, like
Right.
football,
Yeah.
can make a difference until one of my players, it was a girl on the team, she said that, and I'm not sure if this was during the season or maybe after it, but or maybe towards the latter part of her career or her time playing, on our teams for several years, she shared with me that football helped save her life. And I was like, well, what do you mean football saved your life? It's just
Yeah.
football. It's just, a sport. And I always try to just keep it simple too, because that's my other part of my philosophy is just fun, right? Like football is just fun, and it gives you escapism, or it's a way to let off steam, or just to socialize with people.
Right.
But for her, it said that it saved her life, because she said she was on the brink of committing suicide, or having those thoughts and stuff like that, maybe going through depression.
Yeah.
And football was an outlet for her to
express herself,
and to play, and just to be a part of something.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that really touched me, and I was just like, wow, like I didn't think me just doing something for fun, like coaching football and doing something that I enjoyed, would bring value to someone else in that type of way, where it would prevent her from having those type of thoughts.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't even imagine what someone that is going through depression, or a bad relationship, or whatever it is, to say that football helps save them from those things.
Yeah, it's wild. Like, I've come to another conclusion that people tend to find the things that they're looking for, but what people don't realize is the people that you surround yourself with tend to dictate what you end up looking for. And that's a question I ask most of my guests, and it's like, who are the 5 closest people that you associate with, and how do they affect you? And I generally, for someone as positive as you and I know who mine are, and majority of them are virtual. Like I look into people
online.
Yeah, online, because sometimes when you grow up with a dark past, or like a harder past, you kind of have to seek mentorship or help in other avenues. And I want to ask you, who are the people that helped you shape yourself, like, to this day?
This is an interesting question. Ironically, I think because recently it was Mother's Day last Sunday, about a week ago.
Yeah.
And I think, I know my mom is definitely one of the most influential people in my life. She definitely has helped shape me in the person that I've become today.
Yeah.
As a young man. And actually, I shared a post on Facebook recently. How everyone was wishing their mothers happy Mother's Day and posting pictures with them.
Right.
But interestingly, when we got up that morning, and on Mother's Day, I said, "Oh, Mom, you want to go to brunch, lunch? I'll take you out. We could just do that thing, that Mother's Day, the typical Mother's Day thing." And she told me, she was like, no, I'm not going. Because I already have plans. And I was like, what do you mean? It's Mother's Day. It's your day. Like, I'm supposed to, be taking you out.
Right.
And spoiling you and doing all those things with you. And she said that.
Are you an only child, by the way?
No, I have a younger sister.
Okay.
Yeah, I have a younger sister. That's in Bolivia right now. So shout out Mimi.
Hey.
Melinda. Some might know her as.
Okay.
But yeah, she's teaching English in Bolivia.
Oh,
right
nice.
now. Yeah, she's seeing the world in that way. But anyway, back to my mom. So my mom, she said she wasn't going, and I said, well, why? And she said, I'm actually taking 2 elderly people, elderly couple, to a church, or a church event that's celebrating Mother's Day.
Okay.
And I said, oh, okay. Okay, so do you want to do something after? She said, no, it's fine. I'm just gonna go to this event. Do you want to come along?
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, well, it's Mother's Day and everyone's with their mothers, so I should kind of spend time with my mom.
Right.
So I'll go along with you. So we ended up going up to pick up that elderly couple, and taking them to the event, and we did Mother's Day that way. And so that spoke volumes to the person that she is. I shared in my post how she's one of the most selfless and genuine people that I know. Not based on things she tells me to do positively, because she nags, of course, me all the time about stuff like any parent would.
Yeah.
But through her actions, she models things that she does things, and it models it.
She's
for
like the idol role model, like.
Yeah, not only for me, she a lot of other people they feel the same way that I do about her.
Yeah.
And I think that's a great trait to have.
Like, the gift of giving is continuously giving, like, it's a never-ending effect.
Right.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and the thing is, the really interesting part about that is, it's like, usually when you give, it's because you have enough.
Yeah.
There was times where we didn't have enough, or we had very little.
Yeah.
We weren't broke or homeless or anything like that, but there was times where we didn't have as much, and she would still be giving, and I'm just like, wow, like that says a lot about the person that she is to be able to give even though we don't have much.
Right.
So she's I think a big example. She kind of contributes to how I am now as a coach or as an educator,
Right.
or being in those spaces,
Yeah.
and giving back to others, and volunteering for events or organizations. Not only do I do it because it's fun, and
Right.
I get to interact with a lot of different groups of people, but actually I enjoy it.
Yeah.
Like it's just part of me. I feel like,
Right.
whereas some people think it's work. It almost doesn't always seem like work to me. It seems like I'm just
You learned how to synergize your lifestyle and your career, and I want to emphasize that a lot, that most people don't do. Like, they think work is work, and that's how how they get their financial means, but then they don't realize that it's almost toxic when you separate a lot of things in your life. Like, when you compartmentalize things, and with me being in the military and learning a lot more about PTSD, you're just hiding shit, like, and it builds up over time, and that's when people go crazy, because you have a lot of baggage, and it just weighs you down, and in literal terms that it will depress you. And because most people always highlight one of their parents as their positive role models, I want to ask you, who are your other four? Because normally it's easy take. It's always a parent or both parents, and then significant other, and then maybe another family member. But could you even think about your next four people besides your mom that are truly that you're closest to currently?
Currently, well, one person that I would say that was influential, that I don't see as much of now, is my high school football coach.
Okay.
Coach Travers. Shout out Coach Travers from Northwest, and now he coaches at Gonzaga High School, which is a private high school in DC.
Okay.
Yeah, and they actually won.
They're big. I know.
Yeah, they won
I know.
their league recently, and he actually got recognized recently as Coach of the Year, like high school national Coach of the Year.
Yeah.
Or something like that. I have to go back and look and find that out. But yeah, he got recognized as like the best high school coach in the United States.
Wow.
Which was pretty cool, through like USA Today or something like that.
Okay.
But he's a big reason. A lot of the values that I learned from him in high school.
Yeah.
So I learned at a very young age, when I was like 15, 16, 17.
Okay.
Through his coaching style and how he coached us, and the lessons that he taught us as young men or
Right.
boys at the time.
Yeah.
And I see a lot of my former high school teammates take that into their adulthood,
Yeah.
and into their lives, into when they played at college football or whatever or even as students, and now into their professional lives.
Okay.
And he was one of the most influential people, because he taught us a lot of the values that I shared earlier. Like contributing to something greater than yourselves, the idea of family, and committing yourself to hard work and dedicating yourself to it, and how that you're able to achieve anything if you really put your mind and work ethic into it.
Right. It's a very big belief factor. And then, could you say like the other three?
Other three, I would say the other person would be my sister.
Okay.
She
does a lot. If she's in Bolivia teaching,
yeah.
like, you can say no more off of that.
Yeah, so it's her fourth
family.
country that she's lived in.
Okay.
She lives in Bolivia. Before, she lived in Vietnam, which is our home country, and then she lived in France and Spain.
Mm-hmm.
But she's visited a total of 30 countries, which is pretty astonishing at her age.
Yeah.
To do, and so she's someone that, it's funny because your podcast is Curiosity.
Feed your curiosity.
Yeah, feed your curiosity. So I think she has a lot of curiosity about the world, as do a good amount of us, I feel like.
Yeah.
Including myself. But she's actually out there doing it. Like,
Yeah.
she's
the
living in other
execution part
countries.
is the missing factor for most people.
And it happens to be that she's utilizing education and teaching others English in foreign countries as a platform to travel the world.
Right.
So man, her adventurous, I guess, spirit is something that I really admire.
Yeah.
Admire, and I know a lot of people admire her as well, in terms of that. and it makes me want to explore more. And I've followed her across the world.
Yeah.
You know, whether she was in Vietnam, like I'm thinking about making a trip to Bolivia right now, to see how it works with my work schedule and such.
Nice.
But before I visited her in Vietnam and France, you know, and these other countries, and if it weren't for her to, I guess, you know, trailblaze and visit these countries first and live there, you know, I probably wouldn't be as likely to visit them as much.
Yeah.
But yeah, so she's definitely an interesting person.
Okay. Dope. I'll say, I think for the sake of time, I think I got to bounce pretty soon.
Okay.
If you got this was one question I told with Rob. Think of Iron Man. If you had a heads-up display that everyone could see, what if you had like one like line to say, what would you say? Like a speech type of thing. Not a speech, but like, I don't know. What would you say on everyone's heads-up display? If, like in the futuristic world where everyone became like Iron Man and they could see like
Okay.
a note and just spread for the whole world, what would it say?
A note for the world.
Yeah, like if you had like a message that you could write, I don't care how long it is, but like you had a message that everyone will see, like tomorrow morning, what would it say that everyone needs to hear?
Man, like, I don't want to sound cliche, but it's really, you know, find and follow your passion.
Okay.
I just think it's so powerful. Like, you know, I've been able to taste it. I haven't really been able to do it completely and go all in on it, because I'm still trying to find, you know, which avenue and which way I want to go about that.
This is coming from the guy who doesn't know his own passion.
No, I know my passions. My two passions are, like I said, coaching and education. And I've done both, right? I've been a teacher, I've been a coach, but I want to find a way to do it at a greater scale.
Okay.
You know, and impact more people. But yeah, if I had to, you know, share a message, it would to be find your passion and follow it, and then share that with the world or share that with the community around you.
Jump on the podcast.
Yeah, because I just think it's so powerful when you really know what your passion is and you do it. It doesn't feel like work. You know, you just feel almost like a sense of liberation. You feel liberated.
Yeah.
You feel free, and you just do it with so much more energy and conviction and you know, commitment. You know, you don't think twice about it. You just go in and you do it. You know, like when I coached the teams, it was fun to me. It didn't feel like work, even though it was a lot of work. You know, that was done for free. But you know, it wasn't about that. It was about just doing something that I loved and sharing that with others, and they happen to love it too.
Yeah.
So that's what I would share, man.
That's crazy. Anthony's message is follow your passions, commit all day, get it, and then just do it.
Just do it like Nike.
Well, I hope Nike pays me for that.
Yeah, check it out. Sponsor us. Sponsor my teams.
Where can they find you?
They can find me on Facebook and Instagram. I'm not a public figure or anything. I have my accounts, but yeah, follow me on Anthony Nguyen, Nguyen, It's the right way to say it.
It's just Win? It's really just
Anthony. The Americanized way to say it is Anthony Nguyen, but with the Vietnamese accent is Wing.
Wing?
A little bit of an accent.
Okay, cool.
But Anthony Nguyen is fine, but I like to say Anthony Nguyen.
Okay.
Yeah.
I always thought it was pronounced Nguyen, but awesome. Until next time, guys. Goodbye.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me.
Appreciate you, brother.
Yep. That's fun.